the most powerful instrument of seduction, and this is the week of seduce thyself. I take responsibility for my own arousal. I don't wait for the music and for the technical structures, right, to create a moment of prayer. It's my moment. I'm going to step in. I'm going to love it open. And I'm going to let the moment love me open. And there's only one decision we ever make. Do I step in and love the moment open and let the moment love me open? Do I step in and fuck the moment open and let the moment fuck me open? Or does the moment remain closed and I remain closed? Do I birth the possibility of possibility with which my moment is pregnant because I'm willing to take my unique risk? Or does the moment remain closed, barren, stillborn? Music loves us open. The most powerful instruments of seduction is clearly music. Music seduces, right? Music changes our mood. And here, if you can, just gentle request, just even close your eyes even deeper. Some things we can see with our eyes open, some things we can only see with our eyes closed. Music changes our mood. And the move from Homo sapien to the new human and the new humanity to Homo Amor takes place when we change our mood and we change the mood of culture itself. And Heidegger wasn't wrong when he said that all that exists is mood. Mood's the fundamental category of reality. So we have to change our mood. We have to deepen our mood. But our mood is the core qualia of existence. And music changes our mood at its core. But I want to tell you something strange about music. Music is not about spirit. That's a mistake. Let's go slow. Music has been here from the beginning of time. And it's music that, if you will, discloses the blessedness that's at the heart of all things. Isn't that true? Music discloses the blessedness, wrote Aldous Huxley, that is at the heart of all things. And although music was here from the beginning of time, music was not here before time. So here we go. I want to try and, if we can, set a little bit of our direction today for a second. Okay? Music is always about love songs. And it could be personal love songs, or it could be love's loss. It could be love of spirit, love of nature, love of country or their loss. But music is always intimately bound with love. Music holds the agonies and the ecstasies, right? The devotions and the demands, right? The rapture and the ravaging of love itself. It's always at the center of music. Music is the mathematics of intimacy. It's what Pythagoras understood, that music and math live together, right? In some sense, all truth is comprised of music and mathematics. So wrote Margaret Fuller, who died at age 40, right? A close friend of Whitman. But here's this. Music is not of what we're told is spirit. There's actually no music in cosmos, obviously, before the manifest world of matter emerges. There's no music before there's matter, because sound itself is made up of matter. Now that's shocking. And the entire split between thought and feeling, between body, embodiment, and a form of ensoulment, interiors and exteriors, is a false split. We think music, right, is spirit that arouses. No. Music is of matter itself, right? Sound is an expression of one of the earliest forms of matter, gravitational waves. And gravitational waves, disclosed by Einstein's mathematical formula, but only discovered actually experimentally in 2015 with the help of a 3-kilometer-long tuning fork that the universe built through human creativity and imagination, which is the universe imagining itself. These gravitational waves that form music, our eyes are closed. These gravitational waves that form music are an expression of time. So music is an expression of time, which isn't separate from space. That's what Einstein's theory of relativity tells us, rooted in mathematics, the intimate structures of the universe. So we live in and we're composed of space-time, but music at its core, what's music at its core? It's not made up of notes of sound. Rather, music is made up of what sound is at its core. Music is made up of atoms of time. So if you go back to the Big Bang, when the single point of the singularity stretches itself out in a line, time is birthed into reality. And within that line of time, there's continuity. Moments distinguish themselves. And don't try and listen now if you can with your mind. Just feel it with your body. Don't worry about the concepts. Just feel it. Just feel the science. Don't worry about the details. Within that line of time, there's continuity. Moments distinguish themselves. And it's the distinction of moments that allows for chords and harmonies. It's in the distinction of moments and the break in the continuity of time that rhythm and melody are born. In the last minute, this gets wild, friends. So once we realize that music is the stuff of time and that we ourselves are made of time, then we realize that we're made of music. Cha. Cha. So let's just say it one more time, eyes closed. The interior feels and sees. We ourselves are made of time because time is part of the space-time continuum. It's part of matter. That original matter in the first nanoseconds of the Big Bang, when the space-time continuum is born, lives in us. We're composed of space-time. Once we realize that music is the stuff of time and that we ourselves are made of time, we further realize that we're made of music. So the music that seduces us lives inside of us. See, that's why music seduces us. It actually lives in us. And there's these distinctions that are drawn in the great traditions, and integral theory beautifully recapitulates some of them between the eye of the mind, right, the rational mind, moral reasoning, mathematics, beautiful. And the eye of the senses, the eye of the flesh, right, what you can touch, feel with the five senses. And then the eye of spirit. And with all due respect, it's an important distinction, but it's actually rooted in a medieval understanding and doesn't actually reflect reality, because it speaks of these three eyes as separate, and they're not. Let's see if we can just re-say it for a second and say this out loud for the first time. Let's think of the eye of the flesh. It's one eye. It's the five senses. But when you go to the depth of the eye of the flesh becomes the eye of the heart. It's what we mean when we say that at its best, sex is love in the body. Wow. Sex is cosmic eros performed in the flesh. See, that's not the lowly eye of the flesh or the eye of the senses. And the eye of the mind that feels mathematics and feels ethos is also an expression of the body. What did Walter say? I listen with my body. Now, I don't transcend thoughts. I don't leave them behind. I leave behind the chattering thoughts, and I enter into the sensual fuck of thoughts. Right? Of the deepest, most gorgeous thought that is thought and no thought at the same moment. So the third eye, let's not call it the eye of the spirit. Let's call it the eye of consciousness. New term. And the eye of consciousness has lots of facets. It has the heart, the eye of the heart, in which I love my way to enlightenment. Right? We find each other on the path and we look in each other's eyes, and when we say, how can anyone ever tell you that you are anything less than beautiful, right? How can anyone ever tell you that you are less than whole? How can anyone not notice that our love is just a miracle and how deep we are connected in our souls? We're loving our way to enlightenment. That's the eye of the heart. There's the eye of contemplation. Right? So hang out with James and do a meditation in the morning when he does morning meditations. We want to enter into this moment of true self, the eye of contemplation, which I contemplate. And we do, and right, in the community, an enormous amount of just dropping into that beautiful space that Walter described. Right? The eye of contemplation. I feel I'm one with the ground, and the ground is one with me. And then there's the eye of value. I can actually discern goodness, and I can discern fairness, and I can discern loyalty. I can discern value. There's an eye of value. And then there's an eye of the spirit, which says that when I do ritual, when I practice, right, the practices of spirit open up the eye in a different way. So the eye of consciousness, the eye of the heart, the eye of value, the eye of the spirit, all names for the same thing, but here's the truth. That actually the eye of the flesh is not separate, and the eye of the mind is not separate. It's all one eye, right? When I cleanse the doors of perception, all I see is the infinite, and I see the infinite through all of the eyes, because it's one eye, it's one heart, it's one Eros, it's one love. And so music is not like the ancient texts thought. When Elisha in the book of Kings says to his minstrel, right, bring music in and arouse prophecy, in the sense I'll transcend my body and become a prophet. No, I'll enter into the infinities of fuck in my body and clarify my desire. This is clarified desire, clarified Eros, not surface Eros, not surface desire. It's my deepest heart's desire. Have few desires, but have great ones, said Buddha in the original Pali Canon. I clarify my desire. I clarify the desire that moves in me. My body listens, my body hears, my thoughts stop, and I know, and then I think even deeper, and I abstract into past and future, and then I feel, and then I touch. And all of that is part of the great carnal knowing of reality, the great sensual sense-making of reality. So if I can, and this is just a way of just saying hello this morning. Hello, good morning. If we can just open our eyes and find each other for a moment and look at each other like music. Bless you. We're music. And let's listen today if we can. Let's listen with the eye of the heart. Let's talk to each other with the eye of the heart and with the eye of the mind and with the eye of the flesh and with the eye of the spirit and with the eye of consciousness and with the eye of value, right? With the whole thing. And actually what we just did is we just rewove civilization. If you actually understand, can feel what we just did, right? We could footnote this in 1,000 pages. We just rewove epistemology. We literally rewove the entire epistemology of the Western and Eastern world. And a post-integral reweaving. There's no split between these eyes. That's a mistake. When you open up books, even in contemporary integral theories, the eye of the mind, the eye of the spirit, the eye of the heart, three different things. No, that's not true. That's not true. Right? It's all one eye. And if you split off any of these eyes, you become blind. You can't see. Right? So we want to open our eyes. And music Music opens our eyes, but you see that gorgeous paradox? Music's not of spirit. Music lives in matter. Is that wild? Right? We are music, quite literally. It's like, fuck me, right? Right, we're music. So let's do just the last piece of our opening meditation. We're going to do what we promised to do yesterday, right? Which is we're going to look for a second time, right, at this meditative piece of music. But then afterwards, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to hold silence, turn to the person next to you, and see if each of you can collect 4 faces. That means you have to actually place your attention. Now, I get I hate standardized tests. If you get 1, that's fine. It's completely fine. Right? You are not a bad person, at least not for that reason. No, that's not true. Right. And so if you don't get 4, it's completely fine. But see if you can. I'm just so quivering, tender, as gentle, okay? But see if you can place your attention and see if you can find 4 faces and then share those 4 faces with the person next to you, which means that you have to actually completely place your attention on the music and on the faces at the same time. So it's total attention, right? The music is loving me open, but I'm loving the music open. And it's not, I saw it yesterday. Saw that, done that, right? Repeat. Right? If you read Interior Mysticism carefully, and my old friend who I haven't seen for 25 years, Susie Handelman. God, Susie, how's Susie doing? Right? Think about Susie Handelman. Right? Susie is, we studied together in Jerusalem a little bit. Susie must be, I don't know. I wonder if she's retired. She's a professor of English literature and one of the most brilliant women readers of Aramaic texts in the world. And we would get together in Jerusalem. She taught, I think, at Johns Hopkins. And she did a reading of a passage in Cook, which her conclusion of the reading, which was correct, was a passage we talked about together, and we mentioned it yesterday just in passing. But when you actually live on the inside of the inside, we don't grow older, we grow newer. Right? And my dear, dear beloved friend, evolutionary homemade, Barbara Marx Hubbard, who I was thinking about this morning and I miss dearly, right, who died at 89. And when I first met her, and she had read like everything she could read, and she got very, very excited about this next step, and she was 84 right, when I met her, and filled with fire. And she said to me, Mark, I'm not growing older, I'm getting newer. I said, yes. Right? And Barbara had the capacity, and she called me several times a day, and I admit that Barbara, I apologize, I ducked most of the calls, right? Because I can't talk about that again, right? And she made me completely crazy because she would call to talk about what we just talked about yesterday and get completely excited about it again, right? The next day, right? Just like as if we had never talked about it, right? With complete virginal ecstasy, right? Just this wild energy. And now I just wish, I wish Kik and I were saying, we wish Barbara would call just to get excited again, right? So when she first met me, right, she said that line that Susie and I had concluded reading a Cook passage 30 years earlier. That's the Intimate Universe. She said, I'm not getting older, I'm getting newer. So when you look at the clip, the easy thing, that's what we do is prayer. We did that yesterday. We're just doing that again. We're about to start, right? So we're just, when you look at the clip, just let it blow you open, but literally for the first time. Right? The art of enlightenment is to revirginate. Right? Imagine. Right? Imagine. This is to the people in the room, men or women, let's say, who are attracted to breasts. I don't know if there's any people like that in the room, but if you are, imagine you'd never seen those breasts ever before. Now, women, imagine if men could actually, or women who loved you could actually do that. Could actually see you for the first time. Men, imagine if women could see you for the first time every day again. Imagine if we could be aroused by love, right? We could see each other anew, afresh, and the boundary that we would break would be a boundary of interiority. Right? Just check this. This is wild. My friend Esther Perel, right, who wrote a book called Mating in Captivity. I think she was just here in Belgium, right? She's originally Belgian, right? And so I actually met her because she quoted me in her book, Mating of Captivity. So, you know, I have a general preference for people with that kind of wise discernment, right? So we found each other, and we had dinner, and she came to an event that we did, and we had a fierce debate on the nature of Eros, right, on stage, which she actually asked to be pulled. And I wrote a chapter in the book Return to Eros with total love and honor critiquing Esther, without mentioning her name, with total honor, right? But Esther's notion is she's noticing, oh, intimacy and desire can't live together. And she's noticing something real in culture, right? Which is the more right? Intimacy means we're familiar, right? No distance. Desire means there's distance between us. We want to cross the distance, right? So the more familiar, more intimacy, less desire. So she, with an entire school of about 40, 50 other people in therapy, have pointed to that, right? And the old school of therapy, stay close for a second, the old school of therapy was, well, just have more intimacy, which means just be closer, take more walks, right? And that'll arouse more desire. Doesn't work. Show of hands, does that work? No, doesn't work, right? You don't have to show hands, right? And don't raise your hand, it could be dangerous, okay? It's just like, don't want to get anyone in trouble, just doesn't work, okay? So Esther's saying, well, what you got to do is, and she's developed a whole series of exercises, which are very beautiful, like, you know, go to a bar, pretend like you don't know each other, right? In other words, do the play the stranger thing, which is a beautiful exercise, great exercise. And her assumption is, and this is what she writes about, right, is that, right, desire at its core is transgressive. I mean, it's got to transgress. Transgress, you know the word transgress, right? Flanders, Flemish, transgress, it's got to transgress the boundary. And that's exactly wrong. Desire is not transgressive. Desire is subversive. Now, subversive means it's different. Subversive means desire undermines, it doesn't transgress a superficial boundary. Subversive means when you make a revolution and you overthrow the government, meaning you actually overthrow the established order. So, for example, stay close for a second. In the established order, you either are giving someone something, you're putting money in your account, for example, or you're taking money out of the account, right? Fair? Established economic order, simple. In desire, that disappears. Desire is subversive. Giving and receiving are the same. Isn't that interesting? No split between giving pleasure and receiving pleasure. They're actually the exact same engagement. So desire is subversive. So in order to actually retain desire, it's not going to work by just doing an exercise and pretending like you're strangers. How long does that last? What you have to be willing to do is meet the stranger in your partner. That's a whole different game. Right? Can you actually meet the stranger in your partner and invite that stranger to play? Can you actually introduce the stranger in you to your partner? That's intimacy. That's intimacy which breaks a boundary on the inside and links at its core intimacy and desire. Because actually intimacy and desire are part of the same structure of reality. So music, that was just a little aside, right? Music, that's a day, that's worth a few days. That's a big topic. And end parentheses. So we're about to see this piece of music, and the way we got to this association was, look at the music, not like I saw it yesterday. And some of us have looked at it before. Look at it, this is a virginal moment, right? Madonna, right? Like a virgin, right? For the very first time. And actually to walk through life and let life love me open for the very first time, that's what Barbara would do. She would call up and get radically excited about something we had just talked about yesterday, and then it drove me crazy, and now I desperately, right, KK and I say, like, where's Barbara? Why is she not calling? Right? And we want to find that. Right? So enlightenment is revirgination. Right? To be enlightened is to revirginate. To see it for the first time. So we're going to look at this clip. We're going to see it if we can for the first time. And then we're going to turn to silence of presence. And I'm going to ask if we can, just gentle, right? Just any kind of side talk just loses the, so it's not a kind of, at a seminar, don't side talk, fuck that. But just if you can, we'll just hold the container together so we're in together, okay? So here we go, take us inside Ode to Joy.
Conducting? Anyone conducting? No conducting here? Where are you? No one conducting here? Help us out. Help us out. Help us out. Bring it up. Bring it up. Oh my God.